We had terrifying events in the recent past, and I received numerous emails from you where people said you're stressed out, it impacts you at the workplace, you have trouble sleeping, you basically have your mind on what happened just a week ago at the Capitol, what's happening with the economy, what's happening with COVID-19. And many emails reached out to me and they asked me, could you please get someone on an interview who's an expert in staying safe, sane, and especially staying positive in these days? And I'm very proud that we have someone from New York City. Hello and welcome, Positivity Pro, Renée Lee Rosenberg.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be able to be on this call with you and to actually spread the word of how people can keep themselves positive and keep themselves in a better state of mental health and well-being. This has certainly been a very difficult time, and it continues to be. We thought back in March that probably that this COVID pandemic would last maybe a month or two.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's the new year and it's not going away yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you tell us, because of course, some people might now think, oh, Positivity Pro, do we just have some random motivational speaker here? No, we don't. Good news here. Could you just tell us a bit about your background, where you come from? What is the foundation of your work and what do you do with people? Because I know you from different conventions and conferences. We met in Washington, New York, London, and in Holland. So I saw you speak multiple times. Could you just give people a bit of your background and what you do with people during your work?
Certainly. I am a motivational speaker, and a Positivity Pro is the name of my business. Mm-hmm. I work with people, helping them to discover and accomplish their career goals, no matter their age. I'm an anti-ageism advocate. I don't believe that age has anything to do with how we perform and how we function. And I believe that we also need to keep a positive attitude toward our life and toward the things that are happening around us. I've been involved in career strategy. I guess I would say I've been involved for maybe over 35 years. I have a master's in career counseling, and I also am a licensed mental health counselor in the state of New York. So this is my passion. I love doing this. I love helping others. And I really love helping people to see how they can be successful in their career and in their life.
Excellent. So when people are now sitting at their desk and they suddenly think, why is my mind constantly hovering around what just happened in the recent past? And I just cannot focus on my work, on my family, on everything that makes me happy. I of course know it's still there, but many people wrote me emails and said, I know it is there, but somehow my mind always focuses on the negative. What happens there? How can people prevent that from happening?
Yeah, well, you know what's happening now is that we actually have the vaccine, and that's hopeful, but we still have so much uncertainty. And uncertainty, when uncertainty is high and we don't know what's happening in the future, people start to panic. We start to get scared. We start to get worried. We start to feel that we're out of control. And I think it is the uncertainty of what's happening. And this is where we really need what I call the positivity pill. And we all need to take a shot of that. And maybe it's the positivity pill syrup if you can't take a pill. But
have it with some pancakes then.
With some, absolutely. Wouldn't that be the way to do it? Yes. Yeah. Use it as a syrup. Take a spoonful every day. Take 2 spoonfuls if you need it. As they say, take 2 pills a day, one in the morning and one in the evening, with or without food. So I'm going to talk about my positivity pill strategy. Because mental health and well-being now more than ever is what we need to focus on. And we need to learn how to cope and stay positive.
Especially now when we have people, and that is something which was mentioned a couple of times in the emails I received. Some people said, look, I am now 50, 55, 60. Some just retired and thought they can now travel the world. And they say, I thought that basically life after 50, 55, 60 or in retirement will be just very happy. And suddenly it feels like I am running out of time. You are the author of a book which is named Achieving the Good Life After 50, Tools and Resources for Making It Happen. So what is the secret sauce? What is the trick for the good life after 50?
Yeah, well, that book has become very popular lately,
Yeah,
actually,
I know.
because people are wondering how can they do this in this pandemic, and certainly people who are thinking of retiring and people who are not thinking of retiring are now not even working and
Hmm.
wondering what's next.
Yeah.
How will I work? Where will I get a job? And what will happen to me? But all of those are fears that will keep us negative and will affect our health and our well-being and even our longevity. And that's something that we need to think about. So one of the strategies that I really like to talk about, and just wanted to mention that I've just recently given 6 seminars in New York City to the public library on keeping stress at bay, and basically about wellness and positivity and resilience. And we're getting over 200 people signing up for these presentations, these
Oh, it's
webinars.
it's the well-known library which is at Bryant Park, like in the middle of Manhattan. That one.
This is actually it's remote, so it's no longer
Yeah, of course.
anywhere.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, but
hopefully you don't get 200 people in one room at the moment. That would not be a great idea. But it is run by that world famous New York library at Bryant Park. So that's where you spoke or speak remotely.
yes.
Excellent. Yeah.
And we now have a new library, which was supposed to open in May, the middle of May. We were having a huge celebration right across the street from the big Bryant Park Library.
Hmm.
But of course, now that's only partially open and everything is virtual and remote. But
Yeah.
soon we will be there. And the library has been a wonderful source for people to come and to really gain a lot of knowledge and to certainly listen to so many speakers such as myself.
So
So
what
that's
do
a
you
little
tell these
blurb for
people in your
them.
speeches there? What is it that you tell them? Because when I heard from people who were there that there must be a reason why people go to these events and then say, I want to work more with you. That is always a sign that you did something right. So
Yes.
what do you tell them?
Well, I tell them that we need to start thinking about how we can change our attitude. And I have a process that I call AAA, which so many people can relate to because it's the car company, it's the battery, it's the
Yeah.
energizer. And my process, AAA, is aware, accept, and take action.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can just keep to that, if we can just, and within that process are many multiple steps and strategies that are very positive. So the first part is to be aware of your feelings. And it sounds like so many people that have contacted you are very aware of their feelings. Yeah. And that's a good sign, not to deny them, but to accept them, to know what they are, to let go of the anxiety and the fear. Is very important to know, to voice it, to say, okay, this is what I'm feeling now. This is what's bothering me. And then to say, all right, I can accept that, but what it is that I need to do. Mm-hmm. So know what your feelings are so that you can then take action. If you don't accept them and you don't put it out there and say, I'm frightened of this, then you don't know what it is. And you can't take action to help deal with it and make yourself be more positive. Mm-hmm. And we're aiming here always toward well-being and mental health. And this is the most important thing. So you need to have the awareness, you have to accept it, and then you have to take action. And the action is based on the fact that and I think we all know this, but in this really uncertain time, we're forgetting that we actually have a choice, that we can take control of our feelings and we can do something to make us feel better. We don't have a choice to change what's going on around us, the bigger picture, but we have a choice to change the way we feel and the way we look at things. And I think this is really important. And I have a lovely quote where Ernest Hemingway told us, we get stronger in the broken places. Mm. So where we're broken, that's where we can get stronger, but we need to know it. We need to be aware. We need to accept, and we need to take that action. Mm. And we need to look at our upsets, look at the setbacks, those people who mentioned to you that they're retired and now they're wondering what's happening. We still can do things within this retirement and still be active and still know what our priorities are. And I think this is what we really need to be focusing on.
Mm. One very interesting thing you said is, and that is very different from many motivational speakers who often, unfortunately, have no professional background like you. They are not licensed mental health counselors. Many people say that when you have bad feelings, you should just, and unfortunately, there is a very well-known Hollywood movie with a very bad quote where they say fear is a choice. So they say just choose not to fear. So basically ignore your feelings. Leading psychologists say that this can be very harmful to human beings. What is your take on when people still say, just get over it and just pretend these feelings are not there? Because your point is quite the opposite, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I think when you tell people to just get over it, they don't know what they're getting over. There's no control. We have the choice of controlling what our feelings are. But if we don't know what they are, but if they just run wild and they overcome us, then we can't do anything about it. And that's where the fear and the worry and the stress comes in. So we have to know and be aware of what's bothering us and accept what we can't change, and then move forward with what we can change. I think that's extremely important to have this awareness.
Yeah, because I remember that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when we met in Holland, in Amsterdam, I think it was, just a couple of weeks before, there was this horrible storm in New York City, which even affected your own house. And still, you traveled to Holland, delivered an amazing speech with the most amazing attitude we have seen for a very long time, after basically your own existence and your own property was closed for being wiped off the map. Is that correct? Do I remember that correctly?
Yes, absolutely. That was Sandy. I will never forget
Hurricane Sandy, yeah.
Yes, it was very destructive and very difficult to deal with. And yet, it was, and I really felt strongly that at that time, and it was the same type of message, but it was said a little differently when I did speak in Holland. And that was that people were saying that we need to look outside the box for things to help us. And I strongly believe we need to look inside and go inside the box, to look inside to our feelings, look into what we're thinking about, and then change from the inside, not from the outside influences.
Yeah. Yeah, and also science fully supports your point. That also, I think, is a very important aspect here to mention. So when people are now sitting here listening to your podcast to round this interview up, and they're thinking, okay, I need to start somewhere. It's all a bit much at the moment. To round this interview up, what are Renée Lee Rosenberg's top 3 tips to start with right now?
Okay, so as I mentioned, it's very important to come from a place where you know that you're in control and that you can take action and that you have that choice. William James, who was the father of modern psychology back at the turn of the century, he said that the way we think is the way we feel, and that's the way we behave. So we need to work on how do we change our thinking. And our thinking is really, and I always have difficulty when I say this, but this is what the research has said, that we think, and I'm going to ask you, what do you think? What percentage of our thoughts do you think are negative?
Oh, I'm from Northern Germany, 85.
Well, you're almost
German
right.
And Northerners. Negativity really is our thing, Just
Yeah, that's actually, you're almost right on target, I must say, with most of the people in the world. They say that it's 75%.
Wow.
So we're giving ourselves negative messages all the time. And we daydream negatively, they tell us. We're always beating ourselves up with self-talk that's negative. And so now in COVID, maybe it's up to 85% now. We need to think of how can we change our self-talk? How can we start to look at what we say to ourselves and be more positive in the language that we use? Because again, according to William James, the way that we think and the way that we feel is the way we behave. So the words that we use. So we need to start looking at that. We need to start looking at our language. When we say I can't, you need to just very simple, just say I can't, you change it to I can. Or what's wrong with me, rather than I will do something differently now. Something that gives us more hope and more inspiration rather than the negativity of the words that we use. And one thing that I really love and that I use with all of my clients is affirmations. Affirmations make you aware of where you want to go and what goals you want to set. And I'm going to talk about goals and planning in a minute, because I think that's the most important thing that we really can do for ourselves now, is to be planning for the future. Which is so difficult for so many people at this point, which is why it's so important that we do it, because the uncertainty of what we're doing and where the future is very negative for us. So we need to really start with positive affirmation. which is a very short statement, which will help our self-talk become more positive. It's a short statement that starts with I, because it's about you. It's 7 words or less, because it needs to be memorable, because we need to remember it when we start to get stressed. It needs to be in the present tense, and it needs to be something that you want to set as a goal, something that will make you change and do something differently tomorrow. It could be a very immediate goal. I'm not looking at long term, because we need to have something that we look forward to, that we can achieve in a very quick period of time. And this can help people to feel more positive about themselves and to feel that they have some structure and some routine. So a positive affirmation is extremely important. Short, positive, to the point, starts with I, and needs to be in the present tense so that it looks like you're doing it. And I'm going to give you an example of my affirmation was, and I've been working on writing my second book. And with this pandemic, it's been very hard for me to sit down. And so I decided that I was going to have an affirmation that says, I am writing 3 pages every day. And I look at this affirmation. You have to write it and you have to put it up on your wall. I've put it up many different places. You have to repeat it so it becomes real to you. I've put it up on my refrigerator. I've put it up on my bathroom mirror and my front door, even though I don't really look at my front door very much anymore because I'm not going out, but I've put it up there just in case I do decide and I can go out for a quick walk, which is also very important for today. And so I've look at that affirmation and I feel that this is something that I've promised myself. And also because it's in the present tense, I feel I can see it. I can visualize it, that it's something that I can do. And I actually have sat down and started writing my 3 pages, and my next affirmation will be 6 pages. And so I'm going to increase it and make it larger as a goal. So I encourage people to really start, if those of you, and maybe many of you listening to this, will have an affirmation already, but make sure it's in the present tense. And this is where people make most mistakes. They say, I will. And it's not that. It has to be now, in today, in the present tense, or it will not be effective. So affirmation, extremely important. And write it down. Don't put it on the computer. This is another piece that people do. Write it down with pen and pencil because things stick better when you write. Research has said that when your whole body is involved, and writing is very important. So I even suggest that people start to journal, but not on computers. You know, we're so used to now being with a computer, but to use a book, to have a separate book or a pad and use pen and pencil. Very important to keep you focused.
Great. This is really good advice, in my opinion. So I think many people will now have a great week after they just listen to you. Of course, I'm going to put your contact data in the show notes of this podcast so people can get in touch with you directly. And at the end of this interview, there's only one thing for me left to say. Renee, thank you very much for your time.